Hi there, this is a video on how to make a beanbag character for a nativity play. We're going to be making Joseph. He would also make a good Moses or a good Noah, depending on what you want to use him for. So these are the things that you're going to need. You'll need something like a tea towel or a piece of fabric. I like the design on this one. I think it'll make a good Joseph robe, so I've gone for that. You'll need a sock for his body, something that has a tight weave to it that will hold his insides inside, and a stocking that will give it the skin color, and some fluffy fabric. This is a great fabric that I have left over. He's got some rice in his beard. Does happen, doesn't it, guys? Yeah, this is a great fabric that I had left over from another project that I worked on. I just thought it would make a fabulous beard. You could also use something like this, which I picked up from the dollar store. It was just a roll of fluffy fabric. That would also make a really great beard, make a good Santa Claus. Or a really good Moses. Anything would do. Obviously something hairy would have a good effect, but really you could use any sort of a fabric if you wanted to. Need some elastic bands, and I've cut up a couple of squares of fabric left over from the tea towel, which are going to be the sleeves, and a couple of pipe cleaners will be his arms. And then I've got a wooden dowel. This is actually just a kebab stick that I've chopped the end off, and that's going to be his staff, his rod, his shepherd's rod. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is create our beanbag character. So we're not actually going to be using beans, we're going to be using dried rice. So for Joseph, I'm going to be using about 3 cups of uncooked rice. You could use beans, you could use lentils, anything like that would do. So you can see I've already got mine in a pint glass here, because it makes it easier to pour into your sock, and it stops it from messing. So this is about 1.5 cups of rice, so you would have to do it twice. So here's one I made earlier. This has got 1 glass full in it, so 1.5 cups of rice. So I'm just going to finish this one off. So I'm going to take the sock and you just stretch it over the top of the glass. I'm not going to rush this because otherwise I'll be picking up rice for weeks. And then we tip it over and shake the rice down inside there. A little bit off camera, but oh, he's very full. Okay. Now I like these ones because the heel makes a good face. So it's kind of difficult to see because of the way he's sitting there, but you can see that the way the sock sits is all to the back here, and that's going to be my head or my face. So now you want to grab one of your elastic bands and just tie that off. And you really need to tie it tight so that the rice doesn't fall out and escape. So I'm not going to do it terribly tight because just because of the video, because it will take me too long. I'm not very good with fiddly things. So we'll just pretend that that's really tight. Okay. And as I said before, if you've chosen a sock that's doesn't have a fine weave, you might find that bits of rice will start to escape. You could just double it up. Also, when I do the stocking, that's going to add an extra layer of protection. So that should sort things out. So I'm going to grab my stocking and I'm just going to go down to the toe And I'm gonna, it doesn't really matter which way up you do it, but I'm gonna have all my loose ends to one side. I'm gonna grab him there, and then just, I'm really hoping that that elastic band holds, because I did not do it very tightly. Okay. Something like that. Pull it up from the bottom. Give him a shake down to the bottom. It always reminds me of like a bank robber. You know, they pull those stockings over their faces. All right, and there we have it. We have our the basic body shape. The next thing we're going to do is give him a nose. So this is quite fun. To do this, I'm going to take, basically you just try, so we're going to take a bit of rice, about 1/3 of the way up, okay? So yeah, about 1/3 of the way up, 2/3 of the way up, sorry, 1/3 of the way down. And you're just going to try to sort of form a little bit of a nose like that, a little bit of a blob basically. And then when you've got it, you put your elastic band around it, and again you want to tie it really tight if you can, and you can make it as big or as small as you want to. Now, because I can't do fiddly things, here's one that I did earlier. So you can see this one I used a really long sock, so he's got some spare that I'll have to cut off at some point in time. And now you can see he's starting to sort of take shape. Imagine that his eyes are there and this is where his body is. Okay, now when we put his cloak on, all of that will be hidden, but you could cut this off just to tidy things up. I don't like to cut stockings because you end up with runs, you'll get ladders in the stockings. So I would leave the stocking if I were you, because it's so, sheer that it's not going to cause any lumps or bumps or anything, so I wouldn't worry about cutting that, but you could cut this excess sock off and sort of glue it in a little bit as well if you wanted to. All right, next bit will be the beard. Okay, we're going to take the beard, and I'm just going to show you how to cut this guy because I've learned this the hard way. There's a couple of things that you don't want to do really. So you can see what I've done here is I've cut a little V. See, actually easier if I turn it the other way around. I've cut a little V shaped, and that's going to be for his nose. Now you don't want to cut too wide, a semicircle there, because what you'll find is it actually fits around his nose quite nicely. I find you need a little bit more than just a slit. You do need to cut away a little bit of fabric, but not much. But you can see that it sort of shapes around the nose quite nicely. Isn't that fab? Isn't he great? Oh, I love it so much. Okay, and we'll come back to that in a second. And then the bottom bit, you just want to shape it down into, whatever shape you want. Really, I like a sort of a V shape. And it's going to take him all the way down to his feet. I actually like it when there's a little bit extra sort of draping on the floor. It's quite fun, really. Now when you cut, if you've got a fluffy fabric like this, hairy, it's better to cut from the back and not from the front. So if you cut from the front, this is what tends to happen. I'm not sure if you can see it, but you sort of end up scalping the fabric, and you can end up with bald spots. So what I find the best thing to do, and I left a bit that I wanted to shape here, you can see this is quite rounded already on this side. Here I wanted to shape it there and show you how to do it. The best thing to do is actually cut. You see, I'm not going like that. I don't have the bottom blade underneath the fabric. That's how you scalp. I'm actually sort of cutting just the fabric, and then what you find is if you've done that, the hair just sort of pulls away. Actually, that one yeah, I have ended up with a bit of a short bit there. So I'm going to try and do that again. Pull that off. And so that gives you the hair dangling down off the edge of the fabric there. Whereas if you cut it from the front, you're going to end up with a hard edge, and it just doesn't look, I don't want to say realistic. It's obviously, he's not a very realistic looking person, but you lose that effect of the flowy beard, you know. All right, so we'll get that fluff off there. I think that's a pretty good shape. Okay, so we bring him back. I'm going to finish doing his beard on this video, and then we'll do a part 2, I think, for the arms and the rest of him. All right, so this would be, you want to get your placement right first before you start trying to glue. Now, you see when you place it like that, you can actually even create a bit of a moustache. I don't know if you can see on there, but he sort of starts to take the shape as if there's a mouth there, which is quite fun. If you have longer fabric, longer hair, you can actually form, you know, you can actually twiddle a sort of a moustache there, which is quite fun. You could even use a little bit of hair product or something if you wanted to, but bear in mind it's going to get gunky. Now when you use your glue gun, just use a couple of dabs. I would only dab a little bit there and put it down, and a little bit there and put it down. And just a little dab there on either side, and that will just let that beard move around a little bit, which is a nice look. Okay, and there you have the basic body of the Joseph. So I'm going to just tidy that up, and then on the next video we will have a look at how to create his arms and how to put his headscarf on. Okay, so thanks for watching, and look out for part 2.